All right, Rally Pack. It's time for the Brutal Friday by Bravo Mike Renew class. Friday, April 3rd, 1 p.m. We have a ton of awesome stuff to cover today. We will dominate some joints. Hi, Carrie. We will dominate some joints, open up some shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, neck, thoracic spine, you name it, all right? So we have a lot to do. The only thing you'll need today may be some sort of balance assistance about halfway through. So if you're going to use something like an ottoman or a bench, a chair, a PVC pipe, we're going to be in a half kneel position like this. So you may need something in one hand to help you balance. Sound good? Everything else will be just body weight, just floor, okay? So the first thing we're going to start with today, we're going to start in a quadruped position on all fours, hands directly beneath your shoulders, knees directly beneath your hips, okay? And we're going to start with a full spine cat-cow. So when we start with this cat-cow position, we want to start up in the cat. So we're making that huge rainbow with the spine. We want our chin tucked to our chest, and we want our pelvis sort of tucked underneath us, so your glutes are squeezed. When I unfold this, I'm going to start with my pelvis. And I want to imagine there is like a little guy or a girl in an elevator here, and we're going to take that elevator up the spine all the way to the head. Of course, only traveling one floor at a time as we move segmentally up that spine, okay? So let's start with the pelvis. We'll start pouring that bucket forward with the pelvis, all the way up the lumbar spine, into that mid-back, sinking down with that sternum, and then gently lifting that head up until we're trying to look at the ceiling. From this position, we will start with our head as we begin to look down, slowly bringing that chin to the chest, pushing those shoulder blades apart, mid-back nice and broad, starting to go down that lumbar spine into the pelvis, and we tuck it underneath nice and hard. And then again, we unfold from the pelvis first for rep number 2, traveling up that low back into the mid-back, between the shoulder blades, finally ending at the head. Let's reverse that. Head starts coming down, chin towards chest. Chin is tucked to the chest. Shoulder blades start to come apart, pushing that back, mid-back open, traveling down the low back and into the pelvis. Last one, unfold from the pelvis, pour that bucket forward, through that lumbar spine, up the mid-back, and then lift that head. Chin starts to tuck to chest, pushing those shoulder blades apart, broad mid-back, down the low back, finishing at the pelvis. Good, guys. So that was 3 complete reps of our cat-cow. Next, we're going to move into what's called a tall kneel position, or this position here. We're going to have palms just kind of facing forward so that your shoulder blades are neither pinched all the way back, nor are they sort of slumped forward. What I want you to do in this position is make sure you have some tension at this midline or lower ab area, as well as your glutes. You don't have to contract them as hard as possible. Think about 30 to 50% contraction there just to keep yourself stable or from moving in any other area than your neck. So of course, with neck cars, we're going to start with our chin to our chest. And then our first action after that involves a rotation, not just that pure lateral flexion. So we're going to go to your left side to begin. So let's tuck chin to chest and then rotate as far as we can to the left. Now we want to dump out that liquid in our left ear over our shoulder, extending back so that we're looking straight up, glutes are squeezed, rotating, dumping that liquid out in our right ear over our right shoulder, and then sweeping across that right collarbone,
back to the middle. Think of this as like following your shirt collar. Rotating back to the right, pouring that liquid out over your right shoulder, looking directly up, liquid out of the left ear over the left shoulder, sweeping across that left collarbone. That was one full rep. Let's do another one. So chin to chest, directly rotating to the left, liquid out left ear over left shoulder, into looking straight up, liquid out right ear over right shoulder, rotating directly over right collarbone. We'll reverse that, rotating to the right, liquid out right ear over right shoulder, looking directly up with glute squeeze, midline contracted, rotating to the left, liquid out left ear over left shoulder, back to the center. Let's do one more for good measure because we're going to do a ton of spine stuff. Rotate to the left, liquid out left ear over left shoulder, extending back, rotating to the right, dragging across the right collarbone, and reverse. Across right collarbone, out right ear over right shoulder, extend, glute squeeze, midline contracted, liquid out left ear over left shoulder, and sweep across that collarbone. Awesome. So we've just gotten through the neck cars. Now we're gonna go back to our quadruped position or some shoulder cars, okay? So this one's a pretty challenging one. A lot of different lines of force with a quadruped shoulder car versus something where we're standing upright or even in a tall kneeling position or sideline for sure, okay? So I'm gonna start with my left hand first. You guys can see. You're gonna have, obviously, your knees directly beneath your hips, and then your non-moving hand directly beneath your shoulder, okay? And ideally that down hand, well, really both arms, you're gonna keep those arms locked out nice and straight, okay? So let's start with left hand with palm up out in front of you. And you're gonna lift up like you're lifting sort of a cup of soup in your palm, or your favorite glass of wine while you're in quarantine, okay? So you're just gonna raise that arm up to about ear level, internally rotate so you wring out that towel, reaching up and back, maintaining a nice flat, low back, you're not over rotating, continuing to turn that hand inward as we reach back, and we end up with that back of hand touching either your outer left thigh or to the floor. And then you're going to reverse, extend up as high as you can, contracting the muscles in that close to your shoulder. Start to unfold that arm as we come through this big circle here, ending up bicep back at ear, palm up, back to the floor, okay? We'll do our second rep just like we did the first rep. Palm is up, lifting that cup of soup, bicep at ear, and internally rotate the whole arm, reaching up and back, internally rotating the whole way so that the back of the hand ends up on the side of the thigh. Raise back into extension until you finished. Externally rotate that hand as we come around that circle. Palm up and down out in front. Now let's make sure we switch sides. We will go right side now. Same exact setup, knees directly beneath the hips. Down hand directly beneath the shoulder. Right hand now is palm up. We are going to raise it up as high as we can. Internally rotate, reaching up and back as we continue to fight for internal rotation, wringing out that towel of our arm, sweeping by the leg. Back of hand should be near the thigh. We reverse, raise up as high as we can, externally rotate as we come up and around. Palm is up to finish. Touch. And then we're going to rewind and do rep number 2. Palm up and raise. Bicep at ear. Wring out that towel of your arm. Internally rotate, reaching up and back in as big a circle as you can manage.
without compensating with your torso or low back rotating. Ending up with the back of that hand brushing by the thigh, raise into extension, accidentally rotate that arm as we complete our circle, bicep brushing by ear, palm faces up, flat down to the ground. So that was 2 shoulder cars in quadruped position. Next, we're going to move into some tall, kneeling thoracic flexion extension, okay? This is where we're going to start to open up that rib cage and mid upper back, okay? So we'll start with that tall kneel position. This is again where we want to create some contraction with our glutes, some contraction with those abs, okay? This doesn't have to be 100%. We just want to make sure we're not bending at the hips or leaning back in the low back. We only want to move from this upper back area here, the upper half of my torso, okay? So what we'll do here, we'll just give ourselves a big hug, right? And then all I want to do is almost like a crunch. I want to push that mid back section out, tucking my chin to my chest. Get as far as I can, just hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now when I come out of this, I want to lift that sternum up, maintaining that contraction in my glutes without bending from the low back. It's not going to be a huge move, but you want to push that sternum up instead of arching from your low back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's flex again. So tuck the chin, push those shoulder blades apart, push that mid back towards the wall behind you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift that sternum up as high as you can. 5, 4. Squeeze the glutes. 2, 1. Done. Let's come down, chin to chest. One more time in a thoracic flexion. Rib cage expanded apart, shoulder blades apart for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly back into extension, lifting that sternum up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let's come out of that back into that neutral position. Okay? So that's the beginnings of some of the stuff we're going to do for mid-back and scapula today, aka your shoulder blades. Okay. So next, I want to get into some scapular retraction and protraction. So pinching shoulder blades together, pushing shoulder blades apart. Okay. So the first one we're going to start with here is going to be in the quadruped position again. Okay. So for this first one, we're going to go just like we have been, with hands directly beneath the shoulders and knees directly beneath the hips. Okay. And the first thing we're going to do when we do this is try to maximally pinch our shoulder blades together as we keep our arms straight. I repeat, do not bend your elbows, keep your arms straight. You want this action to come from shoulder blades, not from like a half push-up, okay? It's a big tendency to compensate that way. Be cool, keep your wits about you. Work on retracting your shoulder blades, or try to think about pinching a pencil in between your shoulder blades on your back, and then pushing those shoulder blades as far apart as you can to create maximal distance between your shoulder blades, okay? So let's start with the retract, aka the pencil pinch first. Let's keep our arms straight and sink that sternum down toward the floor as much as we can. Squeeze hard for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remember to keep your head neutral. Spread those shoulder blades apart now for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly sink that sternum back down toward the ground and pinch that pencil. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Elevate, push those shoulder blades apart. 5, 4, 3, 2, 2. Back down into retraction, aka pinch for 5, 4, 3, 2, 3. Neck stays neutral that whole time. Back up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 3. Back down for number 4. Pinch those shoulder blades together hard. 4, 3, 2,
4. Back up, spread those shoulder blades apart for 5, 4, 3, 2, 4. Last one, pinch them together. 5, 4, 3, 2, 5. Push them apart. 5, 4, 3, 2, 5. Good, guys. So that was our initial foray into scapular retraction, protraction. Protraction is what it means when you push those bad boys apart or bad girls. Okay. Next, we're only going to change our hand position now. Okay. Instead of, we're still going to be in quadruped position, but instead of our hands being directly beneath our shoulders, now they're going to be out a little bit wider. What this allows us to do is work in this plane of scaption. So you're going to feel an enhanced ability probably to retract your shoulder blades and not as much of an ability to really push those shoulder blades apart. Okay, that's fine. We want a different stimulus. We want to get familiar with moving the scapula and all their glorious capabilities. Okay, we want to unfreeze them. So when I have this hand position, I'll go from what I was just doing here, right, into something more like this. So now your hands are outside of shoulder width apart, almost like a U or an A type position. Okay? Knees are still directly beneath your hips. All we're going to do is pinch these shoulder blades together with a nice neutral neck. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push them apart. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feel those shoulder blades. 5, 4, 3, 2, 2. Push them apart. 5, 4, 3, 2, 2. Pinch that pencil in between your shoulder blades. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3. Push those shoulder blades apart. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3. Maximal retraction now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 4. Maximal push apart. Spread them apart. 5, 4, 3, 2, 4. Last pinch. Hard. 5, 4, 3, 2, 5. Push them apart. 5, 4, 3, 2, 5. Excellent work, guys. We have some awesome scapular warm-ups going on here. Some awesome retraction, protraction, okay? Getting these scaps moving is so valuable for shoulder health, okay? Get them moving, keep them moving. All right, next, we're gonna do everybody's favorite shoulder stuff, some swimmers, okay? We'll do a swimmer variant here. We're gonna do a one-arm swimmer hold. Heads up, I'm terrible at these, so if you're hoping to look as good as me, aim higher, okay? So, we're gonna do these from a tall kneel position. I'm going to explain the rep before we do the rep. Otherwise, I'll never be able to do it and talk about it at the same time, okay? So, you're gonna maintain that contraction in your glutes while we do this to stabilize, right? So we don't have a whole bunch of wiggle in places we don't need it, okay? Your non-working hand is gonna be right up above, just above your belly button on your abdomen. That'll help keep you honest there too, so you're not wiggling around in your trunk, okay? Now, the working hand, when we do this, because we'll do about 3 full reps per side. The working hand, when we do this, will start just with a hand gently on the head. Throughout this motion, I don't want you to pull on the head or put yourself in any real painful position. I should have said in the beginning, all of this, do in your pain-free range of motion. The whole point of Kinstretch or Renew or this entire system is to work within your pain-free range of motion, not to push into joint pain or push into some tissue pain. It's to A, note where that is, and then B, work around those areas of pain or discomfort. Okay? So, let's start with that hand behind head here. The first thing we want to do is get that posterior musculature of the shoulder activated. So do you see how my elbow sort of opened up a bit? That's action number 1. Action number 2 is to lift that hand off my head, extend that arm, internally rotate, and now I start to bend, start to lower that arm, bend at the elbow, sweep it without touching my back behind, open back up, externally rotate, raise that arm, make sure the posterior musculature of the shoulder is contracted, touch, and relax. Let's go. For you guys, this will be rep number 1. I'll do an extra one because I need it anyway. You know, what's extra fitness? Cool. So, offhand, just above belly button. Left hand, we'll say, or whatever working hand you're doing. Gently on the head. Contract that posterior shoulder muscle. Take that hand gently off the head. Extend that arm so your elbow is locked out straight. Slowly lower that arm about halfway down. Let's internally rotate or wring out that towel. Posterior shoulder still contracted the entire way down. Now we start to bend that elbow. Not touching the low back if possible behind you. Unfold. Straighten that arm back out. Raise up about halfway. Externally rotate. Raise that arm back up. Bend that elbow behind the head. And then touch the head. Reset. Rep number 2. Retract that or contract that posterior shoulder. Hand off the head. Extend the arm. Lower halfway. Internally rotate. Continue down. Back of the shoulder should still be contracted. Bend that elbow. Hand hovers behind low back. Straighten that arm back out. Lift. Externally rotate. Raise back up. Back of the shoulder should still be contracted. Hand on head. Should be getting tired by now. So, rep number 3. Posterior shoulder muscles contracted. Hand off head. Straighten the arm. Lower halfway. Internally rotate. Continue down. Bend at the elbow. Hover above low back. Re-extend and re-straighten the arm. Lift halfway. Externally rotate. Raise back up. Bend the elbow. Touch the head. Good, guys. That should be a one shoulder smoke there. Okay? That's pretty difficult. I know I'm sweating. So if it's easy for you, kudos to you. You teach class next time. Okay? Or you can be the model. Next, we're going to move to the other arm. We're still going to be in this tall, kneeling position. Let's come up. We want that contraction in the glutes. Stabilize that torso with any excess movement. Midline also contracted. Hand just above belly button. Let's go right hand or your working hand gently on your head. Be sure to drive that elbow out. Posterior shoulder muscles contracted. Gently lift that hand off the head. Extend that arm straight. Lower halfway, keeping that back side of the shoulder contracted the whole time. Internally rotate. Contract. Lower that arm straight down. Bend at the elbow. Try and sweep that right hand behind your low back. I can't not touch my low back here. Terrible shoulder movement. I'm going to straighten that back out. Raise it up as high halfway. Externally rotate. Raise it back up. Bend that elbow gently behind the head. Reset for number 2. Shake it out if you need to a little bit. Contract that posterior muscle in the shoulder. Hand gently off head. Extend that arm. Slowly lower halfway. Internally rotate or wring out the towel of that right arm. Posterior shoulder still contracted. Bend that elbow, sweep that right arm behind back, fight for it. Extend back out straight. Lift. Externally rotate. Raise. Bend at the elbow. And gently behind head. Last rep. Posterior shoulder contracts. Hand off head. Straighten at the elbow. Lower the arm halfway. Internally rotate the arm. Lower that arm, keeping the back side of the shoulder contracted. Bend that elbow and sweep the back of that hand, hovering off the low back if you can. Let's return, straighten that elbow. Raise that arm halfway. Externally rotate. Raise the arm the rest of the way. Bend that elbow. Gently hand to head. Awesome work, guys. That was swimmers for 3 reps on each side. Woo, I'm sweating. Shoulders are loving it.
We are gonna move now into seated knee rotation. So a little bit easier stuff than some of the hard upper body stuff we're working on. We're gonna move into some lower body stuff, okay? So I'm gonna kind of take a straight on shot here with the camera. Now I want this knee to be bent. Other leg can just be kind of out straight, however you need. We're gonna work on knee rotations, okay? So this part of my leg needs to be rotating out and in, okay? So what I'm gonna do to prevent a lot of cheating on this is to make sure that I sort of frame my knee with my hands. And I should have knee rotation without a bunch of this happening, right? I don't wanna play tennis with my knee between my hands. I want that knee to stay in between the boundaries here while I externally and internally rotate. So you had a little bit of knee movement there, just like that, okay? So what we're gonna do is 10 full reps of externally rotating this tibia. You guys see this little bump I have on my knee here? This little bump should move that way and this way without my thigh, okay? So I'll just frame this and we're gonna move, do this with me together now. We're gonna use our heel as our fulcrum. We're gonna externally rotate, internally rotate, externally rotate, internally rotate. That's 2. 3. I'm having to work really hard on this. It's kind of embarrassing. Out. 4. Out. 5. Out. 6. Out. 7. Out. 8. Some of you might get hip cramps from doing this because your hips have long done some of the external rotation that your knee doesn't do. Don't be surprised by that. It's fun to find these little flaws in our movement patterns. Good, so that was 10 on each side. We'll shake that right leg out or whatever your working leg was. We're gonna do the same exact thing on that left side. So using the heel as the fulcrum and keeping that knee in between the boundaries of our hands. You may find that your other side is a lot more mobile in rotation than that initial side, or you may find it's less. That's cool, okay? Being aware of it is pretty cool information. So we'll start here, externally rotate, internally rotate of that knee. Externally rotate, internally rotate, that's 2. Externally rotate, internally rotate for 3. External, internal, 4. External, internal, 5. External, internal, 6. External, internal, 7. 3 more. External, internal. Great job, guys. External, internal. Last one. External, internal. Good. So I know for me, my left knee moved a lot better than my right knee. No surprise there. Okay. I could feel that my right hip a lot more. A lot of history of cool stuff there. Okay. So, but moving better is the key here. So practice makes perfect. So next, we are going to go. This is where we need that, possibly need that balance assist. I'm going to give you guys a thorough explanation of what's going on here, as well as a warning. This may be hamstring cramp city. That's cool. Cramps never killed anyone as far as I know, right? So if you do get a cramp when you do this, that's fine. You can take a second, rub that cramp, get it to release, take a little mini break, just hop back in as soon as you can. So I'll show you 2 ways to set this half kneeling knee flexion end range hold. Long name, hard exercise. There's one way we can do it, and I'm going to use my balance assist here. You can use something like a PVC pipe if you have one, or you can use, like I'm going to use my handy dandy little bench here for balance. You could use, like I said, an ottoman, a yoga block, whatever you have, okay? So there's 2 ways to set this up. I'll start with the quote unquote harder way first, and then I'll end up with the easier way, okay? I guess that's up to you ultimately, but one way I can do this is to set up with kind of coming butt to heel here. This is knee flexion. And ideally, this is the amount of passive knee flexion that I possess, okay? It's pretty good. My butt is to my heel right now. However, I can guarantee you I cannot actively maintain this amount of passive knee flexion when I come up out of the snail. See how much gap just got created there? So I don't possess the ability to actively maintain my full passive range of knee flexion, okay? What I would love is to get better at maintaining that. That's what Kinstretch does. That's what add these end range holds do. Now, the second way to set this up is if I'm in this sort of half kneel position here with my balance assist, right? And I hold this foot and stretch up like this. We've all done this at some point. My goal is to, whatever I can stretch to, let this go and it stays there. Heads up, if you do it this way, it's 50-50 on whether you're going to cramp or not, okay? So if I see people drop out of the screen or, you know, you start gripping your thigh, I'll know you're a casualty of a cramp sniper, okay? So I am going to do this grab and hold method because I'm a sucker for cramp punishment. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 10-second holds of this knee flexion end range hold, okay? So let's all set up in whatever way you're going to get to, whether you're going to grab your foot or whether you're going to kneel down. Now, caution you, if you're doing the kneeling down butt to heel and you feel some pain in your knee joint, it goes without saying for me, hopefully, to not try and go further and do not crush your knee joint in hopes of whatever. Just don't do it. Stay in a pain-free range of motion when you do this, okay? So when we do this, you're also going to have to contract and hold this. Listen to me clearly, as hard a contraction as you can. That means like max effort, like your deadlift PR or your back squat PR you've been working a year on, okay? That kind of seriousness here, all right? So we'll start with this position here. We're going to let go in 3, 2, 1, hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, Cramp City, 2, 1, and parachute down or slow release down. I should have mentioned that as well at the top. When you release down, don't just do the floppy fish foot to floor. Allow that thing to gently control down. You didn't do all that work to hold that end range just to lose control and let it fall to the ground. You maintain the control. Control yourself, right? Okay. Rep number 2. I'm going to start this from the kneel position now. You can do it however way you want or experiment back and forth between. So we're coming down, and now when I'm in this kneel position, butt to heel, I just rock forward. 10, 9, 8, point your toe. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and parachute down slowly. Good. You guys are doing great. 2 reps down. Last rep, best rep, okay? You got like a little cramp or whatever, just kind of give it a wiggle, get that cramp out of there. We're gonna go last set on this side. After we finish this set and parachute down, we're gonna do a light split stance stretch. I'll take you through that for about 30 seconds, okay? So let's get that maximum knee flexion capability, however you're gonna get it, either like butt to heel or pulling the foot up to your butt. And let's come up and out. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, harder squeeze, 5, 4, harder squeeze, 3, 2, 1, and parachute down slowly. Good, let's come out of that. You got a little hammy cramp, whatever. Just give it a nice TLC. Now let's come up, other knee down on the ground, and we're gonna slowly straighten out that leg we just did a bunch of flexion work on, and we're gonna do just a little split stretch here. So get your leg into position. We're gonna do this for about 30 seconds. Just a nice, gentle, 70% stretch to start, and then you can slowly ramp it up as your leg feels a bit more comfortable. About 20 more seconds. Get your leg into position. We're going to do this for about 30 seconds. Last 10 seconds. Gently move to that hamstring stretch. Feels good. Like let it unfold. Good. Okay. I'm going to switch directions here so you guys can see the down leg working here. We're going to do the exact same thing that we just did on that side with the other side, obviously. Okay. So whatever method you found you liked for getting that hamstring to as in that deep flexion as you can, or that knee into the deep flexion as you can, it might not be the same on this leg. Heads up, okay? It's like Dr. Nero always said, one of the best things I ever stole from him was these things are brothers or sisters, but they're not twins. So don't expect them to react the same. You may do better on this side, okay? That's cool. So let's get set up with that front leg forward as far as we can, or as far as you need. Let's either sit into that deep knee flexion or pull that foot up to butt. And we're gonna come up and hold in 3, 2, 1, and up. Maximum hold, point to toe, 9, 8, 7, 6, harder, 5, 4, harder, 3, 2, 1, and parachute down. Woo, I got a handy cramp there for sure. Okay? If you get a little cramp, whatever, rub that out. Make sure we're ready for round 2. I might have to sit these two out. All right, so here we go, round 2. Everybody ready? Good times, right? Nothing like hamstring cramps. Let's sit down into that deep knee flexion, butt to heel or as close to pain-free as you can. Let's come up and out. Maintain that heel to butt for 10, 9. Oh, you can see my hamstring going crazy. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and parachute down. You saw I couldn't even finish that rep. Just crushed me. Okay. We're gonna go last rep on this side and then get into that hamstring stretch. These are brutal, okay? These are pretty advanced moves that, like I said, it was 50-50 whether we're gonna cramp or not. It's okay, that's not bad. That is just your muscles going, holy crap, what are we doing? I can't figure this out. I'm scrambling to figure out how to do this job. It is a totally normal thing to happen during a move like this, okay? And I promise you, the more we do it, the better you will get and those cramps will go away. We just need to become familiar with moving in this way. So do not freak out if you get a hamstring cramp. Obviously deal with it at the time and get through releasing that tissue, but it will get better as you continue to teach it. All right, so last rep. Butt to heel or heel to butt, whichever way you prefer. Let's come up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, hard, 3, 2, squeeze, 1, done. Slow that leg down. We're gonna switch knees and get into that split stretch for this side. So just gently bring that leg out in front of you. You just contracted that tissue really hard, so it might need a little time to unfold properly. Let's just kind of lean forward, get a little bit of a hamstring stretch. Start at like 60, 70%, and we'll go for 30 seconds from here. 20 more seconds. Gently letting that tissue release. Last 10 seconds. I told you it was going to be a brutal Friday, didn't I? Brutal Friday by Bravo Mike. New tradition. Good. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Gently, slowly come out of that. Whew, that was hard. Okay. So next, we're going to continue sort of flossing the hamstrings a little bit, but this time we get to lie on our back while we do it, okay? This is a supine, aka lying on your back, hip flexion at 90 degrees, okay? With an isometric press, we're going to work on some knee extensions now. We just did knee flexion, end range hold. Now we're going to do knee extensions while lying on our back. So let me demonstrate one before we start doing this, because we're going to end up doing like 10 slow reps of these on each side, okay? Now, most of the time when we do the supine position, you'll hear us say things like, keep your low back as flat as possible on the ground, or, in one of the next exercises we'll do, I'll say something like crush the floor. With this, I'm going to say, try to keep a nice, normal curvature in your spine, which means just a slight to a small gap in your low back, between your low back and the floor, okay? So I'm going to start on my left leg so you guys can see what's going on here. You just lie flat on your back. Your other leg can be bent, whatever you want. The working leg is going to be at 90 degrees here, and you're going to have a slight
push. So it's going to be this. No one's winning tug of war between your hip and your hand. And it doesn't need to be 100% pressure. Something like 50% pressure from your hand and 50% pressure from your hip is totally fine. And then you're going to slowly extend that leg as straight as you can. And slowly come back down into that 90 degrees. Extend as straight as you can. If you can't get it all the way straight, that's entirely fine. We just want to get within your pain-free range of motion. I like to call it the comfortably uncomfortable stuff, okay? You don't need to crush yourself, but you also don't want to baby your tissues, right? You know, we make improvements a little bit outside our comfort zone. That's not the pain zone, that's the comfortably uncomfortable zone, okay? Also, caveat here, it's one of those 50-50 cramps again. You may get some cramping in the front of your hip. That's okay. You don't need to bite the bullet and keep fighting through the cramp. You likely wouldn't die from that. But if you're uncomfortable, hey, you know what, this is voluntary. Like, come out of it a little bit, loosen that hip cramp up, and then resume, okay? So let's bring that hip up to 90 degrees. Some gentle pressure, something like 30 to 50%. And then let's slowly lifting that heel toward the ceiling. Hold for a second. And then flexing that knee again. You want to drive your heel toward the ceiling for number 2 and hold. And then heel back down. I like to keep my ankle what's called dorsiflex. Back up for number 3. Pushing that heel up. Back down. Nice and slow for number 4. Back down. Up for number 5, nice and slow. Keeping that hip at 90. Back up for number 6. Push that heel towards the ceiling. Try to flex those quads if you can. Back down. Straighten those legs. Back down. That was 7. Slowly back up. 3 to the heel. Number 8. Back down. This is number 9 on the way up. Back down. Last one. Hold for a second. Slowly back down. Good. And then we'll let that left leg rest a little bit. This is a fantastic exercise from what's called some sciatic nerve flossing. Those big nerves that live inside the meat of your thigh need to be able to slide, sort of like a spaghetti noodle, up and down the meat of that thigh and lower leg. Sometimes they get stuck inside the tissues of that big meat tunnel. This helps break up and free up some motion in there, relieving some of those sciatic nerve. I have tight hamstrings of my whole life type of tension. Okay? Let's work on our right side now. Okay? Same position, supine. Just a little bit of gap between your back and the ground. That 90-degree position with your hip here. Okay? Hand is on the lower thigh. 30% pressure with the hand, 30% pressure with the hip. Let's dorsiflex that foot. Pull those toes up towards you. Drive that heel toward the ceiling. Hold. And then slowly back down. I can definitely feel this a lot more on this leg than I do on the other side. Up for 2. Down for 2. Slowly up for 3. Squeezing those quads at the top. Down for 3. Driving up for 4. Down for 4. Driving up for 5. Down for 5. Trying to keep that hip at 90 degrees. Even pressure on hand and knee. Up for 6 and a hold. Down for 6. When I get to the top of that motion, up for 7. Trying to squeeze my quads while I push my heel up. Down for 7. Drive that heel up for 8. Down for 8. Last 2, guys. You're doing fantastic. 9. Down for 9. Last one, best one. Up for 10, down for 10. Good. Whew, that's hard work. All right.
Awesome sciatic nerve flossing. We're going to work next into that same supine position, but now we're going to work on some lumbar flexion extension, okay? So this is going to be maybe hard to see on the camera here, but a lot of it is going to be working with maintaining the position of the rib cage while we sort of tilt the bucket of the pelvis forward and backward. So this is where I am going to say, try to crush your low back to the floor and then try to create a nice arch with your low back off the floor, okay? So rib cage stays motionless. I'll kind of demonstrate one before we start this, all right? And then the pelvis itself moves. It's almost like doing a reverse crunch, okay? So instead of my upper body moving a bunch like this, it's going to be my lower body moving a bunch like that. A lot slower. Let's see if you can kind of catch this on camera here, okay? So you can keep your knees bent if you want to, whatever position. You just want to start in a nice normal curvature of the low back here. I'm going to put my hands on my rib cage so I make sure that I'm not protruding my rib cage up and it's sinking down. I don't really want these to move much at all, okay? So what I'm going to do, this is sort of like when we do cat-cow and we start moving at the pelvis. It's that half of the movement. All I'm going to do is try to crush the floor with my low back. 1, 2, and then I'm just going to tilt my pelvis. 1, 2. Come back down, try to crush the floor. You guys see that little bit of motion in the pelvis? It's not exactly the cat-cow when they're laying flat. It's just the pelvis tilting forward, tilting back, okay? So let's do 10 reps in each direction, or 10 full reps. So we'll start with the easier one because we have feedback, just smashing that low back into the floor. Don't do it all at once. Think of this like a dimmer switch on a light that we gently turn up the dial to max brightness, and then we turn down the dial to max darkness, okay? It's not an all or nothing flip switch, all right? So let's go hands on the bottom of your rib cage here so we can feel for any rib flare or rib depression, okay? We don't want a lot, barely if any, okay? So let's slowly flatten that low back into the ground for 1, 2, and then gently tilt that pelvis forward. 1, 2. Gently flatten that back into the ground again for 1, 2. Tilt that pelvis forward. 1, 2. Flatten that low back into the ground for 1, 3. Tilt that pelvis forward for 1, 4. Flatten that pelvis into the ground for 1, 5. Tilt that pelvis forward for 1, 5. Flatten that low back for 1, 6. Tilt that pelvis forward. 1, 6. Flatten that low back. 1, 7. Tilt that pelvis forward. 1, 7. Maintaining that rib cage. Flatten it for 1, 8. Tilt it forward. 1, 9. Flatten that low back. 1, 9. I think I skipped one, sorry. Tilt it forward for 1, 9. Last flatten hard for 1, 10. And then arch forward for 1, 11. Or 10, sorry. Awesome, guys. So that was some fantastic pelvis and lumbar spine motion. Super, super important to have that flexion and extension capability in your low back so that when you go to rotate like a normal human being in life, you own flexion stability. Most of your low back injuries will come as a result of not being confident and stable enough in your low back flexion capabilities to even couple it with something like rotation. So get really good at these simple things like cat-cow and that lumbar spine flexion extension. You will be so much more resilient to anything life throws at you as far as shoveling in your driveway, starting a lawnmower, picking up kids, or heavy luggage, whatever. Okay, so let's move on here. This is going to be fun stuff. Dr. Demir will love this hip smoke. Okay, we're going to do some seated hip, or sorry, we're going to do ankles first. So you have a stay of execution. Let's do ankles first. We're going to do seated ankle inversion, eversion from 3 positions. So this is like a loose figure 4 position. I like to use my off foot as a way to balance my leg on so that I have the freedom to move my ankle up, all right? So use your non-working ankle almost like a prop for your lower leg. I like to put my foot underneath my calf so that I can move my ankle. So we're gonna do ankle inversion, eversion from 3 different positions. The positions will be in a full toe point, also known as plantar flexion for you anatomy geeks out there. We're going to do it from a halfway position, which is neither full toe point nor full toe pull. It's somewhere half in between, the Goldilocks of the foot, okay? The third position will be that full dorsiflexion, or from the full toes pulled up position, okay? So inversion is when we point the toes, almost like you're spraining your ankle. And then eversion is when you point the toes and you're almost lifting the outside of that foot. You guys see that? Inversion, eversion, okay, with the toe pointed. This is going to be tough stuff for those of us with pretty stiff ankles, which clinical experience is quite a bit of us. All right, so let's start with a full toe point and inversion for one, eversion, one. A inversion for 1, 2, eversion for 1, 2. You might get a foot cramp. 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4. Keep pointing that toe as hard as you can. 1, 4. Last one. 1, 5, 1, 5. Okay, good. Shake that foot out a little bit. We're going to go in that middle Goldilocks foot position. So it's almost like a relaxed ankle position, right? Not a full toe point, not a full toe pull, okay? Let's get that middle position. We're going to go inversion for 1, 1, eversion for 1, 1, inversion for 1, 2, eversion for 1, 2, inversion for 1, 3, eversion for 1, 3, inversion for 1, 4, eversion for 1, 4. Last one. 1, 5, 1, 5. Good. Shake the foot out. We have our last position for this foot, coming with the full toes pulled up towards you position. Okay? So let's get those toes pulled up. We'll go inversion for 1, 1, eversion for 1, 1, inversion for 1, 2, eversion for 1, 2, inversion for 1, 3, eversion for 1, 3, inversion for 1, 4, eversion for 1, 4. Last one. 1, 5, eversion for 1, 5. Woo! I love it. Ankles feel great. All right, so we're going to go on the other ankle now. We want to kind of hustle and set this up because I got lots more good stuff. Okay. So reminder: first position is full toe point. Inversion for 1, 1. Eversion for 1, 1. Inversion for 1, 2. Eversion for 1, 2. Take a pull. Who's getting a footprint? 1, 3. Eversion for 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 5. Oh, I made it to the cramp. Woo! Cramp City. I love it. Okay. Goldilocks position. Okay, for this foot. So this is neither toes pulled up nor toes pulled pointed away. Somewhere in the middle, just right. Okay. So let's start with inversion. 1, 1. Eversion. 1, 1. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 3. 1, 3. 1, 4. 1, 4. Last one. Inversion. 1, 5. Eversion. 1, 5. Whew. Okay, shake it out a little bit. So it's now full toe pull up. Let's go inversion first. 1, 1. Eversion. 1, 1. Inversion. 1, 2. Eversion. 1, 2. Inversion. 1, 3. Eversion. 1, 3. Inversion. 1, 4, eversion, 1, 4, inversion, 1, 5, eversion, 1, 5. Awesome, guys. So what's one thing we can start to do if anybody out there has ever experienced plantar fasciitis or currently messes around with it? This is a good start, along with 5 other things to do. But in essence, starting to move your big toe and your foot and ankle a lot more and a lot more frequently and a lot more thoroughly is a world of difference. Okay, take some stress off of the always loaded area and spread it out over the whole foot. Cool. All right, so next we're going to go into our number 4 position, and this is the promised hip smoke that I was talking about. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, this is the number 4 position, right? It looks like maybe a backwards 4, but whatever, the leg and the 4. Okay, so this number 4 position. Now what we're going to do, for some of you, this hip flexion like this is going to be really hard. It's okay, you can lean back a little bit and raise up if you need to. What I'll say about this is lean back as much as you need to, but as little as you have to, right? Remember what I said about comfort zones and pushing a little bit outside of where it feels easy and getting into somewhere where we can make improvement, okay? So don't lean so far back that you're like, this is a cave, okay? Otherwise, you're wasting your time. So make it a little bit challenging. What we're looking for is some control and work in these deep hip flexors, even the ones that are attached to the base of my lumbar spine. Many of us, including me and my right, suck at this, okay? And this is where we get some of that butt wink in your squat, or where we start to deadlift with that little rainbow back in our lower spine, because we're not strong enough and confident enough to pull into deep hip flexion. When we're in the bottom of a squat or when we're setting up for a deadlift, a large percentage of what allows us to get that deep hip flexion or that deep set stabilization position is our strength and competency in our hip flexors. That's why myself and Dr. Demir and Andrew hit these hip flexors so hard, because we are using them so much in this recreational sport that we like to do. And the importance of having strong, competent, controllable hip flexors for you cannot be overstated. Sitting all day does not contract them in an active manner. It shortens them in a passive manner, which is the exact opposite of what we try to do with this athletic measure. Okay, so what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and make some softball-sized circles. Try to say that 3 times fast. Okay, softball-sized circles with a straight leg and a pointed toe. We're going to go 5 in a counterclockwise direction, and then without dropping, 5 in a clockwise direction, and then we're going to hold for 5 seconds before we parachute down. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. So you're probably going to get like a cramp on one hip or the other, maybe both if you win the lotto. Okay, that's cool. But again, your hands are behind you. You're trying to sit as upright as you can. We're going to lift this hip in about 3 seconds, and then you're also going to point your toe. Okay, so let's lift up. Let's go counterclockwise for a nice 5 softball-sized circles. 4, 5. Now we're going clockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let that leg hold up for 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly parachute down. Woo! Prep City. Okay, let's do that on the other side now. Okay. I should say, hey, we have 2 more sets left. That'd be a real jerk move. So opposite side, number 4 position. Okay. Same thing. Remember what I said about legs being brothers and sisters, just not twins. Don't be surprised if you suck at this side and you were great at the other side, or vice versa. Okay. I'm not really sure what to expect on this side for me today. Okay. So we're going to point that toe, lift up, counterclockwise for 5, 4, 3, cramp, 2, 1. You got to keep it raised up. I just got a cramp. Let's go clockwise. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hover for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and parachute down. Woo! Guys, that was cramped for days in my right quad. Horrible. Okay, so I feel your pain. All right, last thing we're gonna do, we're gonna finish with a nice pair of hip cars in a quadruped position on each side, okay? So we're 4 reps from freedom here. So let's get into our quadruped position. I'm definitely not starting on my right hip after I just killed it. Woo. So quadruped position, we're just gonna have, again, hands directly beneath shoulders, knees directly beneath hips. I'm gonna start with my left leg, so I'm just gonna take that weight off that left knee. I'm gonna come up knee toward the chest, open that gate out towards the left without a lot of lumbar or low back rotation, okay? Move from your hip, not from, this craziness. Maintain even pressure on right and left hand and the right knee. Come up, open up, internally rotate, so lift that foot up as you reach back into extension and into a circle. Knee coming back to midline and through. Reverse it into extension, high up. Bringing that knee out and around. Back to center, okay? 1 down. Rewind again, let's go. Foot slightly toward the chest, open that gate out. Lift that ankle up. Knee back, out and around. Into that midline and reverse. Extension, squeeze the glutes. Open up that knee and lift. Out and around and in. Good, guys. 2 down on that side. Let's go last 2 on the other side. Let's give these hips some love. Same exact method. Hands beneath shoulders, knees beneath hips. Slightly bring that knee up to rib cage. Open that gate up. Lift that ankle. Extend that leg back. Out and around. Into the midline and reverse. Extend, squeeze the glute. Open that knee up. Out and around and through. Reset for second and last rep of the day. Knee up, open, out, around. Lift up that ankle as you extend back and around. Knee through and reverse. Squeeze the glute, leg into extension. Open up that knee around, out, and in. Woo! Okay. Awesome way to finish with some hip cars. You guys did fantastic. I hope you love this as much as I did. I'm gonna go try to hammer out some quad cramps. Carrie, peace out. Good job. All right, Valley folks, I'll see you Wednesday at 1 p.m. and next Friday at 1 p.m. All right, love it. Go get some awesome lifts in.
Happy Friday.